Is it starting? There we go. So hi everyone and welcome to our third session on HyperDocs. And today we're going to be creating a HyperDoc. Before this session, we did a What's the Hype with HyperDocs, where we got to understand the difference between a HyperDoc and a multimedia text set. And and we sorry, something popped up and it got me off. But anyway, and the next session, we just looked at multimedia text sets. And today, our purpose is to just look at a HyperDoc. But I've just learned we have some people who this is their first session. So as I explain the HyperDoc, I'm going to kind of really give a good overview so that there's no confusion for the people who didn't take the multimedia text set. And most people don't take the multimedia text set because it doesn't sound, and excuse me for using this word, sexy. Like people are like, what's that? I don't care about a multimedia text set. But for those of us who took the multimedia text set, it's like the best one. It just needs a new name. And we talked about that last session, how it's not the best name ever. So what we're going to do today is talk about HyperDocs. Now, the reason you see my name and another fabulous person's name on here is because the first time I did this, Kelly Hilton, who is one of the HyperDoc creators, came in and just helped me with this. I don't really need help because I present on it all the time, but I just wanted to pull them in to make sure that we were touching all the right bases. And so I want you to know about her because this is someone you should follow. And I give a lot of their resources in here. And I just want to always give a shout out to the people who this came from. Some of the HyperDocs that we're going to see, she created. So if this is your first one, and maybe you have been with me before and maybe you haven't, I always give people an opportunity to sign up. And I don't know why it still says bi-weekly. It is not bi-weekly. It's a weekly newsletter, and sometimes during the summer it's bi-monthly because like when I'm doing a HyperDoc with kids back when we're in school, I'll share those out in these newsletters. And so if you want to keep up to date with what's happening and changing with HyperDocs or any kind of ed tech, that's a good place to go. And like recently, I just published the Chromebook Infused Classroom. I know some of us are Microsoft people, but like I was able to get those people on my newsletter got a special extra bonus package, and other people got just the bonus package. So that's fun, and I try and do that. So anyway, let's keep going. I'm Holly, and I live in San Diego, and I know there are other people in San Diego on here. I'm going to ask some people to make sure that you're muted because right now somebody's like maybe fan is going off. Perfect. No biggie. This happens. And I live in San Diego. I've written 3 books, and I've really been doing ed tech for 20 years. And so I'm passionate about it and about it changing the way that we think about how we're delivering instruction in our classroom. And so that's what this session is about. This session is about HyperDocs because they are this incredible blended learning experience. And this is Kelly, the person I was talking about before. She is such a great person. This we're not doing anymore. So let's start with this infused classroom kind of framework. And this is what is built into a HyperDoc. Now, the first multimedia text set that we did last time was the activation of curiosity part. But the HyperDoc has all of this. In the explore, explain, and apply really is that we're going to be delving into really covers all of this. I'm going to come back to this after we look at a HyperDoc because some of you who are new might be like, I'm confused. And those of you who this is your second session, or third, you're probably ready to look at this and talk about it with a HyperDoc, but we're going to come back just to give respect to those people who it's their first time. Oop. And so let's talk about what we're going to learn today. Make sure it's the right session for you. We're going to learn what a HyperDoc is. We're going to experience learning on one. You're actually going to go out, and if you're not willing to go into a tab and work today, you're probably in the wrong session because I want you to be a student. And I want you to feel what it feels like to be inside of a HyperDoc learning, collaborating, doing the things that we're going to ask students to do. So it's a really great opportunity. And then we're going to see how we can get started making a HyperDoc. And I'm super excited about this. So I need to put in this. Let me go back and put in this, this link. So this is where I need you to go so that you can click on. I need you to get this document up, and I'll even put in the other link to the doc. This gets you to the slide deck. Once you're in the slide deck, then you're going to join me at slide, looks like it's slide 8. I'll put that here. Gosh, I told a person to mute and now I can't hear anybody. It's a little bit of a double-edged sword. So if you join me here, I need you when it opens. Oh, let me share my screen another way right now. And when it opens, I need you not to click around because I want to walk you through this experience. And when I go into this HyperDoc, I'm not going to be able to see. It's not doing it. I'm loving today. Today is my favorite day. Psych, it's not. Okay, can somebody turn on your microphone and tell me, can you see this particular HyperDoc right now?
All I see is an HC.
Me too. Okay, thank you. So it's not working. It's okay. I've been through worse today. Okay, now let's see if it does it.
Is this the one that says EdTech Tools for HyperDoc?
No.
Nope. Okay.
So can you see it now?
I followed the link on your slide and I'm actually on that on a different tab.
Yeah.
That link's not working on the slide for me.
You have to download it.
Oh, hello.
Present. If you press present, it'll let you. It wouldn't let me either. And then when you press present.
Thank you for your help.
Okay.
My friend from San Diego. Okay. So when I go to this HyperDoc, you guys cannot see this screen?
Yeah, we can.
You can?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Feels so much better. Okay, thanks. So don't click around right now. I want to explain this, and then we're going to go into it together. And I like to say, don't be a 7th grader or 8th grader right now. Just be a good student. Be a 4th grader. A good 4th grader. Anyway, so this is a HyperDoc. What I have here is a Google Doc that we are going to be using to learn from and inside of. And so where HyperDocs, and this is something I haven't explained to the people who are new, HyperDocs have an explore, explain, apply section. And I've kind of changed this a little bit where we're not going to have as much explore as we are, we're really going to go in and just start working. So to engage you guys, which is also a little bit of explore, I have like a hook. And my hook is this. We're working to create a collaborative story told by the people who know a city best, the locals. And this is us. We're going to do this in the next 10 minutes. To do this, we need to know the places to visit in your city. So each of us is from a different place. So we're all going to be going into a map in a second. And for some of you, it might be hard. I'm going to do my best to give you the best directions possible. Your job is to populate the map that we're going to go to in a second with the best location and a quick, well-constructed review or description of that area. So I'm going to show you, and you've got to pay attention or you won't know how to do this. Trust me, I've done this with 10,000 teachers before. So I can tell you, if you don't pay attention right now, you will struggle. But if you pay attention, you will have no problems. Actually, this part's going to be easy. It's the part when we go to the map. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're all going to jump into this doc. Now, wait for a second. okay, before you jump in. Just watch what I'm doing. So here is a doc that you're going to find a place on here, and you're going to put your name in a second, not right now, okay? And I'll walk you through that. Here's an example that I'm giving you so that you have a mentor text of what I'm looking for. So I put my name, I put the location that I think is the best in my town, and then I wrote a quick paragraph about it. We're not going to have enough time for you to write quite a paragraph like this, but let me just read it for a second so you can see what we're looking for. So I chose Little Italy, that's in San Diego where I live, and I put quickly becoming one of San Diego's premier destinations by tourists and locals alike. Little Italy sits adjacent to the sparkling downtown skyline while offering picturesque views of the bay. This must-see part of California's second largest city offers visitors majestic sunsets, easy access to Coronado Island ferries, and the ability to spend an evening enjoying a carefree stroll along the palm tree lined streets. Indulge your inner foodie with some of the most flavor forward food and drinks, whatever. So what I'm trying to show you is what I'm looking for, the kind of verbiage I'm looking for. I'm only going to give you 10 minutes. This I would normally give students 45 minutes in a class period to do. So you're not going to have as much time, but I want you to go ahead and move to the end of the document. And I will, oh, looks like there's plenty. And you put your name, perfect, someone's already in there. Put your name so you claim your digital real estate. And then I'm going to give you a few minutes. I'm going to put on music and to write your place. And even like I see Marilyn doing Vancouver, BC, and that's cool. She's from Vancouver because that's legit one of the best cities in the world. But even if not, you can pick somewhere that you love. It doesn't have to be in your city. So, okay, Google, play classical for focus on Spotify.
Okay, playing study music on Spotify.
That's not what I wanted. Okay, Google, play classical for focus on Spotify.
All right, here's your Spotify playlist called Classical for Focus.
Someone always has to be from Hawaii. Make us all feel bad. Love it. I'm going to come back in and see if there's any questions or anyone having trouble. I'm going to put a link to this doc just in case. There's a link for the person who just asked. Perfect. So as a time check, I'm gonna give you about 2.5, maybe 3 minutes to finish your paragraph. You will be taking this paragraph or sentence and bringing it into our next step. Two Hawaiis? Oh no. Well, this is fun. We have 2 people from Austin. Two people from Seattle. Unless it was from last time, maybe.
Holly, is this supposed to be moving up and down as people write?
So it can do that, yes, because we have it could, yes.
Not gonna make it difficult for the kids?
No, it's only difficult for us.
OMG.
They find a way around it. I don't know what they do, but sometimes it is at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I've already tried like 4 boxes, and when I start typing, somebody else's name appears there. Crazy.
So this is what I do, and this is what I tell kids to do. I tell them to pick their digital real estate at the bottom, because no one normally goes to the bottom. They want to be in the first, and so that's how I get them to find a box that won't move.
Oh, okay.
And some of it's moving. So like if you're the RETTA down there, some of it's moving because the boxes are getting bigger and you're coming in a little later. If you had already been on, you wouldn't be experiencing it the same way.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I know it can be unique at first. So sometimes I hold my mouse. Let's see if I can help you. Oh, look. We have El Centro. That's not far from here. I think that's El Centro. Okay, so about 30 seconds. And it doesn't matter what you have because, newsflash, I'm not going to grade you on your writing today. I might judge you. No, I'm kidding. I won't. Playing. But I am learning a lot. So my favorite place in Atlanta is the Civil Rights Museum. That is some place. Whew. If you can get out of there without being completely moved. Holy Toledo. And now Moon River's on, my favorite song. I don't want to stop. Okay. So I need everyone to stop. And so what I need you when I say stop not to do is be like a 7th grader and need to finish it. So what we've done here, because I want to break this down, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to stop sharing for a second so that you can see my face, because I know some of you like that a little bit. I think I'm going to stop sharing. Okay. So while you're still looking at the document, I want you to think about what I did. And because we had a late start, I'm going to kind of, instead of letting you answer all the time, which I like to do, just kind of walk you through some of it. But you'll notice that we were collaborating. We did it quickly. So some of you didn't see what other people were writing. But as you finished, if this had been a normal class experience, you might go up and look and see how other people worded stuff. And I've seen kids actually maybe use the same word, like maybe palm tree lined streets. That's okay with me because they're getting the experience of using not only my words, but maybe some other words. And they learn by taking those examples and crafting them into their own. And so this process, even while it was frustrating for one of our attendees, and it can be frustrating sometimes, gives the kids, after they're done with their paragraph, a chance to stop, kind of look at the other kids', see what they're doing, and maybe learn from that. And when you have your response, and we've talked about this in other sessions, when you have your response and you compare your response with another kid's writing, you go into a state of thinking, of metacognition. And it also provides this many mentor texts. And I find that students, like I'm thinking of some students at a school, someone in this session teaches that. But I can remember a little, one of the kids was not a very good writer and would always tell me, like, my mom said I can write at home. Like, I'll get mine done at home. Well, we all know what that meant. Code for my mom will write this later. And when I would give this example and have them in the same doc, he would often see what other people are doing, and that would click and put a light on for him. And he would be like, okay, I can do that. And you would also see that maybe my best writer, Julia, would be writing fabulous things, and he knew that that was going to happen, but he would also see that not everyone's Julia. And so he didn't feel bad. And sometimes teachers think like, oh, they're going to, this lower struggling student might feel bad if they see all these other great writing. And actually it kind of plays out to be the opposite. They feel like, I'm doing okay here. And I was really not wanting to start. So this gives the kids, when we talk about HyperDocs, it has in it collaborative times. And this gives a chance for collaboration, a collaborative writing. So now we're going to go back, and this is the part I meant when I said pay attention. So no matter what's happening in your house right now, pay attention to this. And I'm going to share my screen, and then if you don't see the map or the HyperDoc that I'm at, please put on the microphone and let me know. So I'm back at the HyperDoc, and hopefully you see that. If not, turn on your microphone. So the next thing that we're going to do, so we did the brainstorming, and we did that collaboratively. And that was kind of us not really applying. It was exploring and applying. And so I've kind of morphed in the explore, explain, apply in a HyperDoc into this unique thing that worked for me because I was teaching writing. And now here's the thing. We're going to go, and please watch. Don't go ahead here. We're going to go into a map. So we're going to head into our collaborative map. You're not. You're watching me right now. Then you'll go and click on it in a second. So here is a layer that I'm going to get rid of because it's going to confuse us. So give me a second. And I'm going to get rid of this one from last time so it won't confuse us. Okay, now. These were people who didn't pay attention to me and did it wrong. That's okay. So we're on a map right now. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to do 3 things. So remember these 3 things as you watch me do them. First thing I'm going to do, because mine was Little Italy, and I'll put these up. I'll help you. Don't be like, oh my gosh, I have to do it or I'll forget. But I'm going to put in Little Italy, San Diego, and it's going to take me on the map to Little Italy, San Diego. My Southern California people know that it legit took me there. So I'm going to do that. Now I have to add to map. So what I'm doing, the first thing is searching and adding to map, okay? The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my doc, and this takes some digital literacy to be able to do this. Every kid alive almost can do this. Well, if they haven't had a teacher who's using tech, they might not be able to, but the rest of them can. And here I'm going to click. I copied that, by the way. I did it without saying it, but I'm going to edit this. See this edit sign right here? I'm going to edit it. And this is the second thing. I'm going to add my description. So there it is. I'm going to save. I'm going to do one more thing because there was 3. So first I add the location and I add it to the map. And then I add the description, and now I'm going to add a photo. So I'm going to go out to Google image search, and I'm going to look for Little Italy. And there's lots of them. So I'm going to have to say it's San Diego. And I could scroll around for a million different pictures. I'm going to pick the first one so it's quick and easy. I save it. And now on the map, here is my location, and it has my description and a picture. I could put in a video. I could do all kinds of stuff. So now you're going to come back to the doc, click where it says click here. Now, when you come to the map, whatever you're doing, come back to where I am right now really quickly. You have to make sure that you're clicked on this blue box. So I see my mouse. You have to make sure that you're clicked inside of this and the blue is showing, or else yours will go into another layer. That's the ones I deleted at the end there. So just make sure that you have yours right here. And I'm going to call the layer, I'm going to call it July. What's the date today? It's the 16th, right? I'll call it July 16th so you know this is our layer. So guess what? You can't break Google Maps if you do it wrong. No one's going to know. You're not getting a grade. So click around and see if you can make this happen. Okay, you can start now. I'll put on the music. good, it's still on. I'm gonna come back and see if I can answer any questions. So I'm going to put the three things, or I'm going to say the three things again. You're going to find your location and add it to the map. You're going to go grab your description and put it inside of the box by editing. And Stacy, by the way, all of your students can do this. They've been well trained. I can't speak for the ones below Drew's class, but actually they had to have had Miss Shap and not Danielle Heidi. So I'm going to come back and look. Remember, it's the description and then a picture. And this does not update in real time, so I have to refresh my browser to see what you guys have done.
Holly, once you've done all those steps, you just close the little tab.
Yeah, you can. But we are not done looking at the map. So if you were my student, I'd ask you to keep it up, because when we're done, we're going to try and look for connections and patterns and really sit and talk about what we see. Obviously, there's no connections and patterns here. Or maybe there's a pattern. There's 2 Austin folks here. There's a couple Southern Californians. Like, that's where I would go next with this. We have, like, it's interesting actually to look at where people are from and where they're choosing. And this Portland, Maine one keeps wanting to come up and mess me up. So I'm going to show you just a couple other things really quickly on this map. And let me go. I'm assuming the San Diego one is mine's not. Wait, is it? Might be. No. Balboa Park. Awesome. I'm going to take over this person's for a second, and I'm going to show you a couple other things I could do here. So under edit, hold on. Oh, I might not. Yeah, I can edit yours. I can change the style. So I can change the color. So if I wanted to do things like collect data on a map because I'm in a science class or looking at certain things, I could say everything in yellow is a restaurant. And then down here, I can look at different icons. So I can go to more icons and I can pick this. So I might put a heart next to mine if I were, you know, doing the place I love in San Diego. And I can start to make a map that has distinctive places that are showing certain things, maybe if I'm in science, or if I'm looking at the map from the point of view of a novel. And maybe I'm in Tulsa for The Outsiders, and I'm looking at what would be one side of the railroad tracks and the other. So I can do some things like that. This class is not about what you can do with maps, but most people leave here going, I can think of some things to do there. But I'm going to head back, and after we're done, and by the way, this HyperDoc, you can file and make a copy of it and play around with it later on your own. But and am I presenting? Let me see. It must be. So the reflection is we would sit, talk in groups, and we would say, what did you notice? Well, I noticed that 2 people are from Austin and they picked totally different places. And I don't know if this is true. I didn't look at what you picked. And what connections do you see? Well, I see that most of the people in this today with us are from the US. And so we could start to really critically analyze the information. Right now, that information is not that important. But if it had been something where I was collecting data around water patterns or around, and I wouldn't suggest doing COVID-19 stuff because of some trauma some kids might have gone through, but looking at data around certain things. So this is a very small sample of what it's like to learn inside of a HyperDoc. And I'm trying to turn on my camera. It's taking forever. So what did you guys think of this, being a student? Besides the one complaint of the thing moving, which is totally valid.
I'm just wondering if you talk to them about like copying and pasting, do the digital citizenship a little bit on this, and the picture. The problem I have with searching for pictures that way, which I don't teach my students to do, is that you can't change the usage rights, right? Unless you go out to Google and search.
Yeah, but so for this activity, for me personally, I always talk to my kids about these usage rights and giving credit. It's just like I did with Kelly Hilton today. I'm not going to go in here and talk about this and not give her credit. But in this particular activity, we are not publishing this. It's not going anywhere. So we talk about when is it appropriate, because we're not publishing it, to just use the image for a second. Now, you can publish these maps, and then it becomes an issue where you do need to give credit. And if you felt you needed to, I would have them go to another tab, get the person and put it in part of the description, because because teaching them to think about that is key right now. Key. It's very important. So I'm glad that you brought that up. But that's what I would do. I would have them go out on another tab,
Right.
get that information, bring it in.
Since this is just like an introduction, we're not really getting into that. Okay.
Yeah, but still, I appreciate the question, because there's some stuff happening right now on Amazon because people don't have that information literacy, that like this is all part of having that discussion. So anyway, so now that we have learned inside of it, I want to read some of your comments. Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities here. And I hope that you can see that you had a lot of choice. You had a lot of agency. I gave you, in the design of this, I gave you kind of, I want to say like not scaffolding, but I gave you little bumps to help you succeed. And those things were being able to see other kids' words, being able to see my words, being able to see what other people were doing without having that be where you were copying. I'd obviously know if you were copying. But often when we're doing writing in class, we think kids shouldn't see other kids' work. And research is starting to show it's the exact opposite, that we become better writers when we have these examples in front of us. I don't even know if that's research now, but us teacher, I can't talk right now. Us writing teachers know that that's always been the case. So I thought I saw a hand, but it's gone. Do you require students to visit, explore all or some of the locations? Some, yes. I'll have them look. Well, so here's what comes next in a real face-to-face classroom, the one we used to have. My kids would sit in a group of 3. They would look at the map. They would all explore, look at stuff. And then they would have to look at each other's. And then they would pull back and talk to each other and say, what'd you notice? And then the one kid would be like, oh, I noticed 2 Austin people. And one kid might say, I noticed no one was from Mexico. That's interesting. And they would begin to make those connections. I would just ask them to start exploring patterns, because that's important to me. Yes, their peers can be excellent examples. So this is an example of a HyperDoc. Let's go look at some other ones. And for people who have not been with us, a HyperDoc is a digital student-facing lesson. And when I say student-facing, the students are getting agency over how they go through this. I've set stuff up. You got to write. I didn't give you agency over that, but I gave you agency on writing what you wanted to write about. I said pick a location, but then I also said, but if you don't want to pick San Diego or wherever you're from, you don't have to. So there's agency built into this. So let me head back. I have to unshare for a second and then go back to our where we were. Now I can't find it. The student's creating. Here we go. Okay. Share again. And there we go. Okay. So I'm trying to get rid of this bottom screen. Give me a second. I'm having a lot of issues today, which is really sad. I have to unshare for a second. There we go. Got it. Okay. So we're going to, let me go back and see if this is where. So this is where the shift in pedagogy in a HyperDoc is. So let's look at the lesson design. Before, we had a plan book, we assigned, we assessed, the kids took stuff home. Maybe we update a website with some stuff, but now we package on your favorite web tool. It could be slides. We saw that in our first session. It could be ThingLink. It could be Google Docs that we're making this lesson. We're giving UDL, which means we're putting on top of it things that like immersive reader that read it to us. And we're letting students do things at their own pace. And while I wouldn't let a kid write a paragraph for an hour, he's probably not going to spend that hour because he has examples. Now, it's back to that thing that we talked about in the first session. Before I explained math to you, you went and did it back at your desk and took home problems, the even problems for homework, and then you came back and on Friday we had a quiz. Now it's explore, explain, apply. Well, the one we just did doesn't go explore, explain, apply. At the end of it all, it's there. It's embedded in it. And it looked a little different because I don't want you, if you were in the first two sessions, to be like, okay, I got to do my explore. Okay, let me think about what my explore is going to be, because it can be melded differently if it needs to be. So we're going to look at some of the things that we think about when we're designing a HyperDoc. So we think about the objective. What's the objective of the lesson? Anyone know the objective of my last lesson? What do you think would have been in my plan book if I had put it in? You could just chat or speak up. I don't care.
One of them would have been like writing descriptive language.
Mm-hmm. 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 And honestly, I did mapping, but it wasn't geography. It was writing. And it was writing descriptive language, and it was bringing in adjectives. You'll notice that my paragraph had a lot of like sparkling skyline. And this would have been my want for this, is for kids to see that you can add these adjectives. So there's my objective. What kind of cycle of learning am I going to do? Is it going to be explore, explain, apply? Is it going to be 5 E's? Is it going to be workshop model? Like, for me, it was not a perfect explore, explain, apply, but I had a lesson flow. And I think you left, can you use this with virtual field trips too? Absolutely. And what packaging am I going to do? Am I going to do it in OneNote? Am I going to do it in slides? Am I going to do it on ThingLink? Am I going to use Buncee? Like, it doesn't matter. What matters is that there's the ability to have a link to get kids going places and to bring them back. Now, I was able to bring you back. So we went out and wrote, and it wasn't confusing where the next thing was. Normally, when we're in classes and we're on our Chromebooks and they're open, kids got all these tabs. I'm like, okay, go over to Google Classroom and it's confusing. This, while I would pass it out using Classroom, this keeps kids focused. Like, they know, oh, I got to go back. We're in the third box right now. And it really is helpful for kids who have executive functioning or processing disorders, because we can get them back to where they need to go. And yeah, explicit yes. So now I'm going to think about the workflow when I'm designing. Okay, well, I've decided on my objective. I decided that it's going to be in a HyperDoc. I decided that it's not going to be exactly explore, explain, apply, but we're going to go through this thing where kids can see each other's. I used a doc, and now I'm thinking, how am I going to push it out? And sometimes I'm going to be honest with you. I do push it out on Google Classroom, or I could on Teams, but I also just give them a link sometimes. Because in Google Classroom, it gets a little confused with like a sign, and then they can edit, not edit, and whatever. So sometimes I just give a link. That's just maybe too much information, but I'm just letting you know how I do it. And then the design of it. How can I make it look pretty? How can I make it more engaging? How can I help give them places where they can do the 4 C's? So that's what I'm going through. So let's click on, if you still have these slides, and if you don't, let me put in, actually, if you scroll back up, you'll find the links to the slides. But we're going to look at right now, and I want you to come into these. So let me go back just for any, I don't know, someone could have come in late, and so I want to make sure that they can do this with us. I'm going to, so infuse link. So we're going to go out, and we're going to look at all those other HyperDocs. So I want to do it one at a time so that we can, oops, sorry. So that we can unpack them together. Okay, so what I'm asking you to do, if you're just getting here, is come with me to slide 11. And now we're going to go to, we've already really looked at proportional reasoning in a different session. I want you to come and click on this one, that's the USS Maine. Oops. Does it not click? Or is it me? Does yours click out to it?
No, not clicking.
Yikes. Hold on.
Which one were we supposed to click on?
The one for the Maine, but it's not working. So give me a second. Okay. First of all, before well, let me grab it. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry about this. All of this would have been up in my window had we not had the original problems. Okay. So why isn't it going? Okay. You notice that when I'm on my drive, if you guys can see that, I don't know if you can see it. Your map that you just did is in my drive because it saves in drive.
The one with the flag?
No.
Where's the USS? Oh, I see. Never mind.
Yeah, and I'm getting it for you so we can go look at it.
I opened it in presentation mode,
You did?
and then I can connect to it.
Okay. Yay. Well, just in case, there it is as well. I'm in presentation mode. That's weird. Okay. So it looks like a few people were able to do that in presentation mode. Thank you. And so if we go to the USS Maine, I want to show you something, and give me a second. I'm going to unshare for a second so I can go out here, and you're going to have to see me look at my drive for a second, but I want to show you the difference of what's happened here. And then we're going to have to either stay a little later, or I'll go over some of this in our next section. And hold on. Information overload. Sorry, it's just taking a second. Okay. This is really interesting to see. Okay. So if we look at this, can you all see, is my thing opening right now? I mean, do you see a white plane?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. It's open.
Yes.
It's taking a second. New computer tomorrow. We won't have to worry about this. But okay, So if we look at this USS Maine, you're looking at it maybe because you were able to open it, but I want you to see the original doc that the teacher who built this lesson started with. Oh gosh, it's so slow. Sorry about this. But this is this was me circa 1998. I would do stuff like this. I would take something that was from the textbook. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's taking so long. Okay, here we go. So I would take something from the textbook and I would type it in and be like, look at me. And so this is what it originally looked like. And I don't know if you remember the story of the USS Maine, but it was parked off the coast of Cuba, and it exploded, and they tried to blame it on the Spanish and almost started a world war, or a war, not a world war. And what happened is they found out maybe a few years later that it in fact was a kitchen fire. But what happened is the newspapers in the US reported incorrectly. We know all about that. And so everyone got all riled up and they wanted to do something about it. Now, here's the first iteration, and I'm really afraid to go try and do the second iteration. But in a second iteration, this is not even the right doc. Hold on. Here we go. In the second iteration, and this is me circa 1999, I would take that same lesson and now I'm putting it into a table. I might have color coded it. I might have done some stuff like this to make it feel like it's better. But then we go to the one that we're all looking at. And that's the one that hopefully you were able to click on. And I have to go click on it again now. Is this final one. And this final one takes that exact same questioning, but now puts it into explore, explain, apply. And it does it using slides. So here's our explore. You and a partner are going to read this. And do you guys have you been able to get onto this? I can't see you anymore. You guys are all okay?
No, denied access.
No.
Well, watch this and I'll give you one with access. That's the story of my day. So I apologize that you're having to get in on my bad mojo. But in this one, the kids are same exact thing as before, but now they are partner A reads this, partner B reads this, then we turn and we talk. Partner A reads this, partner B reads this, we do it again, we turn and we talk. Then we're going to read some stuff on yellow journalism or watch, and you can pick. You can watch one video or you can watch both. And I've actually sat in a class where a teacher did almost this exact same one, and you kids picked both. They watched both. But giving them the choice is like kind of like cool to them. But they want to watch both. Now, if I said watch both, they'd be like, Miss Clark, I don't want to watch both. But I said, you don't have to. So then they apply and they are going to create something that talks about yellow journalism. So that is what it looks like. Now, this person took it and put it to a whole nother level and kept adding and adding and adding. And this is the next level. So we just saw 1998, 1999, 2010, or maybe 15. And this is like 2020, where these, like now you're going in and looking like, which way would you go, A or B? And we're really getting kids interested, like, oh, you get to be Yoda. And so now what do you think? And you click on these things. And now it has a bunch of other information as you, well, I'm scrolling on the other side. Let me dismiss this and present really quickly. So you can see it keeps going. Now we're going to look at data. Now we're going to get up and walk around and do some stuff. We're going to turn in the paper. We're going to look at the paper. And we're going to look at primary sources. And so this one went to a whole new level. So let me grab this link for you because this is the one you really want. And I'm going to put this in the chat. And this is a HyperDoc. So someone just said slide 9, click HyperDoc at the bottom. Access should be granted that way. Nice work. Thank you. I'm going to stop sharing for a second so I can come back and go to, I can't go between things, which is really disheartening. And so take a moment and see if on slide, and it looks like maybe this is the answer to that. See if you can click through any of these. And I guess in present mode, you can see them all. And I will tell you that my favorite is Humans of New York. I would love to be able to, great, thank you. I would love to be able to do Humans of San Diego with some kids as a writing project. The bento box, I do all the time with kids. In fact, I did it with 8th graders not long ago. We did it with a short story called An Appointment with Love. And so they had to put a bento box together of all the important aspects of that short story. And then they had to record and tell me why they chose those aspects. So in any of these, sometimes people are missing that tell me why part of it. So the bento box is fabulous, but it falls short if we don't have kids explain. Yeah, the bento box is amazing. If like during office hours, which we're kind of there right now, during office hours, I'll show you an example from an 8th grade class where we did it with that Appointment with Love. And then what we did, we put it in Seesaw and we did all this stuff. These kids, I love kids. They're so smart. So for those of you, we have to end right now, but for those of you who, this is your first example with HyperDocs, there are 2 other sessions that you can go back to the Geta site and find their YouTube channel, and you can watch the first 2, because we already had done some work around this explore, explain, apply, and how you make these. And one of the things that you don't do is you don't just make these and then not have the teaching aspect. You still are teaching, you're facilitating, you're helping kids with vocabulary and language, but now you're not standing in front of the room doing a PowerPoint. You're actually walking around, seeing where kids could use help. And so it's changing what your room looks like to be that thing everyone talks about where you're the guide on the side rather than the person with the content. And often people use multimedia text sets to replace the lecture. And that was our one before. So go find that on YouTube and you can watch all about that. So I'm going to stop recording. As many of us want to stay here, we can, and we can look at the multimedia text set was shared with us. Sorry that I thought we could stop a little early and do it. But let me stop this so people don't have to watch us in office hours. And we'll